Hey everybody, it's me, Miss Piatt. So as promised, I am going to make some banana bread and I'm going to film myself doing it. One thing I really like about making banana bread and cooking in general is that there's a lot of thinking about fractions that you have to do when you're cooking, and I'll try and talk about those as I'm doing the recipe and making the bread. Here's my recipe. This is a copy of an old cookbook recipe that is at my house back in Wisconsin. It's actually a couple decades old at this point, written by an old lady who lives in my parents' hometown, and I think those are the best kinds of recipes. So let's get started. Okay, the first ingredient on the list is sugar. I'm going to take it out of this bag where I keep it stored. There's my sugar. Next, we need some cooking oil. So here we go. I use canola oil. You can also use something called shortening or margarine. Next on the list are 2 eggs. If I can get this open. This is a new kind of egg brand, so I'm having a hard time getting it open. Great, there's my 2 eggs. Put this back in the fridge. Next on the list, and this is gonna look a little bit gross, but some ripe bananas, and by ripe, they usually mean rotten. So bananas that you wouldn't eat just by themselves because they're too mushy, they're perfect for banana bread because they make it nice and moist. Next is flour, and this is gonna be a little funky because when I went to the grocery store to get flour last weekend, they were all sold out. So I have a little bit of flour left over from when I made Christmas cookies. It's not very much, so I'm gonna have to use some baking mix instead to substitute for the rest of the flour. We'll definitely need to be doing some fractions thinking there. Next is baking soda, which is a powder that looks like this. Next is a little bit of salt. Then the last ingredient, and this is gonna maybe sound a little crazy to you, is a lemon and milk. You need to make sour milk for this recipe. So what you can do to make sour milk is pour out your milk first and measure it out carefully. And then you squeeze lemon juice in it and it will turn it sour because it has a lot of acid in it. So I'm gonna do that quickly and I'll be right back. Okay, so what I've done is using a measuring cup, I measured 1/4 a cup of milk. So if 1 whole cup is equal to 1 whole, then 1/4 a cup of milk is 1/4 of that amount. So if I had 4 of this amount, that would equal 1 cup of milk. And I cut my lemon in half. So now what I'm gonna do is just squeeze some lemon juice right in there. And it's already starting to curdle. That means like getting all gross inside the milk. So I'm gonna set that aside for now to let that turn sour. Put my lemon away. And next what I need to do is get my eggs and my bananas ready. So this is gonna be gross. I'm gonna peel these bananas and then I'm gonna have to mash them. All right, I've mashed the last banana, and here's all my mashed banana. Next, what I need to do is beat the eggs, and that doesn't mean that I'm gonna beat them up or beat them in a game. I'll show you what it looks like to beat eggs if you haven't seen it before. All right, so now I've got my wet ingredients ready to be used. I've got my sour milk, my mashed banana, and my beaten eggs. And now it's time to do the dry ingredients. So we're gonna start with the sugar, and we need 1 cup of sugar, so 1 whole cup. Now this might get a little messy That's okay. Baking is more fun when it's messy, as long as you clean it up. So here is 1 whole cup. I'm gonna pour the sugar carefully into the cup and do the best I can to make sure it's nice and even by shaking it a little bit. And I'm gonna pour it into my big bowl. Beautiful. Some there. Okay, next I need to add 1/2 a cup of oil. So 1/2 of 1 whole cup is a 1/2 cup. Luckily, measuring cups usually come pre-measured for you, so you don't have to like look where the 1/2 mark would be. So this is 1/2 a cup that I'll use for the oil. Right in there. Okay. Next, I get to add my 2 beaten eggs. Then I'll add my mashed banana. And it's starting to look a little bit disgusting, but don't worry, it will taste delicious. And at this point, I'm starting to notice that this bowl that I chose to use might be a little too small for this project. So I'm gonna take a pause here again and go get a larger bowl. Okay, I'm back with a larger bowl. I transferred, which means moved all of the ingredients that I already mixed together into this bigger bowl. I wanted to try to use the clear bowl so you could see everything that was happening, but that's fine. I'll show you some up close shots later. Now let's check on my sour milk. Oh, it's pretty chunky, which is pretty gross, but that's what you want. I'm gonna take these glasses off now too, because I just realized I'm not looking at my computer anymore. Ew. Look, you can see the chunks are even sticking onto the side of the measuring cup. Okay, then I mix the whole thing together. Okay, once it is all fully mixed, it will look like this. It'll be kind of like a thick batter. And now it is ready to be put in the pan. Okay, so I started my oven at 350 degrees. Make sure that only adults are touching the oven. Then I got my loaf pan out, but you can also make muffins if you want to make muffins. And I put a little bit of oil on the inside of my pan so that the batter doesn't stick to it when it's cooking. I'm just gonna pour all of this batter carefully into my loaf pan. It should be pretty lumpy still because you don't want it to be too runny, otherwise it won't bake the best it could. It's sticking to the sides a little bit, so I'm just gonna scrape the sides with my spatula. You also don't want the batter to go all the way up to the top of the loaf pan. It should fill about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way up. That means like most of the way up, because it will get a lot bigger when it bakes. Incredible. I'm so excited about this. I got some messy hands now, so I'm gonna wipe them on my apron. NBD, that's what aprons are for. And now, oh, looks like I've got a broken nail, which I'm gonna throw in the trash. Now, this is ready to put in the oven. You're gonna bake it for probably about an hour in the oven. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, it just depends. And then when you're done, it's going to be delicious. So I'll check back in once it's cooked for about an hour in the oven. Great. Here's the finished banana bread. I just took it out of the oven, so it's very hot, but it smells delicious. I wish you could smell it through the screen. And now I'm gonna slice it up and eat a slice as soon as it's cooled off. It's been so fun cooking with you guys, and maybe I'll make something again if you let me know what you'd like me to make. Bye, Northwestern.